Are you a gifted youngster? Then you're in the right place, because this is Uncanny, the mutant musings of Matt and Sis. It's the show where we discuss Marvel's Uncanny X-Men comic, which is about Professor Xavier's school for gifted youngsters. We do it issue by issue from 1975's giant size X-Men #1 all the way to the present day. My name is Matt. I write and draw Steamroller Man, a comedy superhero comic that you can read online for free at steamrollerman.com. And this is my co-host Sis, publisher, promoter, and founder of Comics Studios Australia. You can find everything comics at comics.net.au. That's COMX, no I, COMX.net.au. Sis, how's it going? And what are we talking about today?
It's going well. How about yourself? You sound
good.
very excited about this one.
I am excited because the issue we're talking about today is, I think, if my memory serves, this was the first ever issue of X-Men that I read as a kid.
That's really cool.
As a quite young kid. As we've spoken about on the show before, we both kind of found X-Men comics at the secondhand bookstores and book exchanges and newsagents back in the day. And I remember reading a black and white reprint of this issue, which I think was an Australian reprint. But as I was reading this for the show, page after page, I was like, oh, I remember this. Oh, yeah. I was wondering when we were going to get to this issue, because I knew it was like the birth of Phoenix, and that was my first issue of X-Men that I ever read. And when we were doing the last issue, I was like, oh, it's coming soon. It's coming soon, because she's flying the space shuttle, and I know that's like
where it all happens.
The landing or crash landing, as we will discuss, of the space shuttle is what opens up this very pivotal issue in X-Men history.
Yep. And this issue is 101. It came out in October 1976. It's called Like a Phoenix from the Ashes. So this is a good one. Before I talk about who did the art and writing and all that sort of stuff, I want to go to the next page.
Yeah.
That you missed out on that because you read a black and white one. That sucks.
I know. I know. I was thinking that that this is the first time that I've seen it in color.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Cool. Yeah. I love this effect they're doing with her power when she uses her powers. Maybe they stop it. I mean, I haven't read the next issue yet, so maybe they stop it when she becomes the Phoenix. Maybe that's how they get around it. Maybe when she was just a Marvel girl, she had this weird effect.
Right.
I don't know. We'll find out in the next issue, I guess.
Yeah, we shall certainly see. I suspect something that just occurred to me right now is I wonder if this was just a thing that Dave Cockrum did, and then once John Byrne takes over as the regular artist, he just didn't do the same effect like he did other stuff. So maybe it was really as simple as like it was just from one artist to another, and they just had a different way of depicting Jean's powers. Could be that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when we get further into the run.
Well, that's what it is. I'm with you, Dave.
Nice.
I love this. Nice. I love this effect where she changes color and stuff when she uses her power.
It's really cool.
She uses telekinesis. It doesn't seem to happen when she uses her telepathic powers.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And for those people keeping track, we've got Chris Claremont as the author. Can't speak English. Dave Cockrum is the artist, but this time we've got an inker. We've got Frank. I can't read my own writing. Chiaramonte. There we go. Letters. This time we're not shortening last names. We're shortening first names. So we got J. Just the letter J.
Yeah.
Costanza.
I think.
Oh, that's an S. Oh my God, that's an S. That's so bad.
I think
And
his
color.
name was John Costanza. I think he did a
Oh,
lot of lettering for DC Comics in the 80s.
oh.
I seem to remember his name as letterer on a lot of DC stuff.
Mm.
Um,
I
and
hope
then
I'll
we
get to know all these stuff because when I was reading these as a youngster, I
yeah.
noticed a lot of people seemed to know who the artists were, who the writers were. I didn't have
Mm,
a clue. I knew who all the characters were. I'm like,
right.
what artist? What writer? What? What are you talking about?
I went through I certainly didn't pay attention to the individual artists
Mm.
when I first started reading comics. It was only after I'd been reading for a couple of years, then I, you kind of get to a point where you notice, like, oh, hang on, this looks like the same kind of art that was in that other comic.
Yeah,
And then you kind of realize, like, oh, it's the same guy. That's why it looks the same. It's like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think everybody kind of gets to that point at some point when they first start reading comics as a kid. You don't
yeah,
pay attention to the people behind the stories at first. You're just
yeah.
involved in the stories.
Yeah, I think I was 17 before I started like going, who does this? Who
Mm,
created
mm,
this? And it was X-Men without the Uncanny 1, where I was
oh,
like, who's this
Jim
dude?
Lee.
And it was Jim
Exactly.
Lee.
Yeah,
Who's
yeah,
doing this art? This is
yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I had a similar reaction to Rob Liefeld of all people
Oh, okay, cool.
when he started on New Mutants.
Yep.
Exactly the same react. I was like, "Oh my god, who's this guy?"
Yeah.
Like, I was blown away by his New Mutants artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I still like that stuff. Like the stuff that he did on New Mutants and then X Force. That's
Yeah.
still my
Awesome.
favorite era of Rob Liefeld. And I know Rob
Yeah, I'll
Liefeld
agree
is a
with that.
very divisive figure in comics fandom. A lot of people give him a
That's
lot of
true.
crap.
Yeah.
But I think, I really admire his passion for the medium
Mm-hmm.
and his enthusiasm. And back in the day, like, you can't argue with the fact that he was one of the top guys in the industry. So
Yeah, he was popular as all hell, and I was one of those fans.
yeah, me
So
too. So
um,
anyway, but
we
that's a
digress.
discussion for another day that
Yeah,
we'll
hopefully
get
we get
to
up
when we get when we get to the
when
90s X-Men.
we,
Right now we're
when we
still
go
in the
to
70s version of
when
the
we get to the
X-Men.
90s, we'll have like 12 different issues to do each month because there's
Oh,
like that
that's
many
right.
titles.
Are we going to do that? Are we going to
I don't know.
like start
We're gonna have
covering,
trouble
like,
just catching up on
I mean, I
Uncanny.
guess we could. We could, because like
It'd be
because then
cool.
we would get to New Mutants was the first spin-off.
Mm.
So we could actually start doing like Uncanny one day a week and then New Mutants another day a
I'm not
week or something
complaining.
like that.
Anything that makes you
Yeah.
have to read them would be awesome.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go.
See how we go. Yeah.
So yeah, getting into this issue, one thing I thought was really interesting, especially about this splash page, was usually, at least in the last few issues, we've seen them do like a recap of what happened previously, but it was previously they did like maybe like a one-page recap of actual like comic panels with artwork of the events in the previous issue. This
Mm-hmm.
one, it's just text. Like, it's a really quick recap of what happened in
Yeah.
the last issue, but it's really effective. And normally I sort of prefer images over words because I feel like comics is a visual medium, and so
Yeah.
you should try and they should try and be telling the story with pictures as well as words. But here I didn't mind it at all. I think it was actually it's quite poetic and quite poignant. Yeah, so I just think it's really quite well done to just have this one splash image, and just it almost makes it like a very quiet moment, even though it's a very kind of
No, I get that. No, it's yeah. I get that. That's really cool when you put it that way because I didn't.
Mm.
I had that same thought without realizing I was having that thought. But now that you
Yeah.
say it, I'm like, yeah, I thought that was like a quiet, she's about to die kind of
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Because this is saying a young woman's last moments. So
Yep.
you're not having any doubts that she's about to die. But
Yeah. It sort of it gives the moment weight, like emotional
yeah,
weight. By not showing pictures, it's just I guess because it gets more in your, as the reader, it gets more in your head, where it's
mm,
just the narrative caption boxes, and so it does kind of sort of gets more into your soul and into your heart as you're reading it. I think so. You really feel for Jean in this moment.
that makes
Um,
a lot of sense.
yeah, really well done. I thought.
Yeah,
Um,
because you remind me of a book I read about how comics are made, and I
mhm.
can't remember the exact words that they used, but they call it the something along the lines of between the panels have the
Right.
most emotional effect, where you
Yeah.
imagine what happened between the
Yeah.
panels, so it's very personal to you. And
Right.
if you do it right, you can really grab people, and that's what this
Yes.
is doing, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it's sort of part of the magic of comics that film and TV, I think, doesn't quite have, because film and TV is kind of doing the imagining for you,
Yeah,
whereas comics, it's sort of relying on the reader's imagination to kind of, as you said, fill in the gaps
yeah,
of what they're not showing you on the page. And yeah, so I think that's one of the things that I really love about comics, is it's an interactive experience between the author, or the artist, the writer, and the reader. Yeah, I love comics. I just love them.
same. Go to the next page, which I
Yeah,
believe is a
let's
splash.
go to this amazing splash page.
I will bring
Okay,
this up.
so once again, as we've talked about the last few shows, Cockrum is doing this page 2 and 3 splash page image.
Yeah,
Very effective for impact, because you open the cover, you've got a full page image, and then you flip the page to full page image, a full 2 page image
mm.
straight away. One one thing that I got to say was, is this the fourth horrific plane crash that the X-Men have been involved in since we started reading from Giant
I
Size
think it
X-Men?
might be. Oh,
Because
that's hilarious.
there was the plane crash at the airport.
Yep,
Um, then there's Thunderbird's death,
yep, which is a
and
plane.
then Stephen Lang. I would count that as dying in a plane crash in the last issue, because
Hmm.
he had in his little flying gunship crashed into the view screen. And now we've got another plane crash. Now, it started me wondering, like, why is this a thing? Um, is Chris Claremont just sort of, does he have a thing about plane crashes? Was he traumatized by a plane crash at some point in his, childhood? Or one thing that
Scared of
occurred to me
flying.
was, in the 1970s, there was a series of movies. They were disaster movies, and they were called Airport. The first one was Airport, and I think that was in 1970. And then they
Oh,
did a sequel, which I think was called Airport 75 or 74, maybe. And then they did another sequel called Airport 77. And they were all about, like, a plane crash, a plane about to crash. And so kind of made me wonder, like, oh, well, are the comics kind of feeding off of what was in the popular culture at the
yeah,
time?
I never thought of that.
And it's just like, oh yeah, this is like the big blockbuster thing to have happen, because they do it in movies, and we're going to do it in comics. But I just thought it was very curious that we've had 4 plane crashes in the space of 8 issues so far. I will
Well,
say it does make it exciting. Like, it makes
It
it
does. It
really
does.
exciting.
Maybe he's just got a fear of flying.
Could be.
So he's putting it on the page. This is why I don't fly. Saying to his wife, look at this page. That's why I don't fly.
You see? You see?
You see?
You want this to happen to me?
I love all the little faces.
I was just going to say,
panel.
that's my favorite panel on the page, is just the disembodied faces. That looks so cool. Really, really nice artwork there. So yeah, this is the plane doesn't just crash. It hits the ground. It hits the tarmac at the airport rather than splashing down into the sea.
Yeah.
It hits the tarmac, but then it bounces on the next page. It bounces up into the air and then goes into the ocean. So it's
love that it's like a rock, when you get skimming rock.
Oh, yeah, skimming on the water.
I'm like, what? It's skimming across the water? That doesn't seem right.
I mean, it's quite a horrific crash, really.
It's pretty full on.
When you look at it, like, it's really gnarly.
I'm amazing there was anything left to skim across the water.
Yeah. So it sinks below the water, and then at the bottom of this page, the X-Men pop up. And of course, Scott's first thought is Jean. I've got to go back for her. And Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler seems to be like the guy who's always like holding Scott back.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
No, you got to save yourself. There's nothing you can do, Scott. Which is what he's doing right here.
Yeah.
And then
I love Scott's reaction to it, though.
It's like, you get in my way, I'll kill you. I swear I'll kill you.
Like, whoa.
He's so uptight.
This is where the Cyclops was right comes from.
Right.
So, this is the angry, take action, no prisoners type Cyclops.
So yeah, everybody's popped up except for Jean. And so, they assume, she's probably dead. There's no point going back for her. But next page, historic page in X-Men history.
Yep.
First appearance of Phoenix. So she bursts out of the water, flies up in the air. She's got a new costume.
Costume, I love that.
New powers, because she couldn't fly before either. So it's definitely the dawn of something new and different. All new, all different, as the saying goes, is exactly what we're seeing here.
The next page is my favorite.
Yeah. So no sooner has she burst out of the
powerful as all hell,
saying, like, I'm so powerful. And then the first panel, she faints. She falls back into the water. So really living up to the, being true to the meme that has come to be known about Jean Grey, fainting all the time. Yeah, exactly. Her true power, fainting in the face of danger.
The other thing I like about this page,
just
to put it out there, we find out how Storm's been doing it.
Yes, exactly. I love that. Finally, we get an explanation of how she has been changing her costume, which we've remarked on in previous episodes of the show.
We have, yes.
When we see she summons a lightning bolt or something. It looked like she was summoning a lightning bolt.
That's what it looked like.
And then her clothes have magically changed to her X-Men costume. Well, here she explains in panel 5, she says, it's a simple enough matter to use my powers to repolarize the unstable molecules of my costume. So that's how she does it. We guessed right, because I think you said perhaps it's unstable molecules, because they did mention in Giant Size X-Men that Professor X got the costumes from Reed Richards, and the Fantastic Four's costumes are famous for being made out of unstable molecules.
Yep.
And that's basically the Marvel universe explanation for it can just do whatever. Don't question it.
I was going to say, because even when she explains it, Still makes no sense. But
Makes zero sense.
makes
So it's
zero
basically, they may as well just say it's magic.
It's magic,
It's
yeah.
like a sciencey way of saying it's a magical costume that just changes to, not only changes to her costume, but she says I can change it to look like anything using my powers, which is pretty cool. Like, that's pretty cool thing to be able to do with her powers. And I assume that Banshee can also do the same thing with his powers, because later you see he's changed his he's changed his costume into street clothes as well. And so I just assume, well, I guess his unstable molecules of his costume are keyed to his sonic powers or something, so that he can change his costume into just whatever he wants as well, which is another interesting thing.
And Nightcrawler never changes his clothes. It's a little
right. He just has his image inducer.
Sounds a little. I don't think the image inducer will help him with that smell.
What smell?
I love this one as well. I love this page as well. Sorry, it just yells at him, "Leave me alone, go away," and he buys flowers to try to chat her up.
Oh yes,
like, dude, seriously.
Yeah, this was interesting.
Take a hint.
Because I thought, yeah, and even the narration tells him. Like, I thought the narrator was actually being quite mean to Wolverine because he says, like, in the final panel, he's like, the narrator says, like, after all, you've never had any friends.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really mean. Poor old Wolverine.
Not this time, bub. Ah, dear.
So, yeah, he went to buy flowers for Jean, thinking like, oh, I'm going to score some points, only to find the rest of the X-Men are already there, and he's just embarrassed himself. And so then on the top of the next page, you see him throwing the flowers right in the trash.
So, Wolverine, what are you doing, dude? You're a couple of 100 years old. You're a little old for her. Then again,
the other weird thing is, like, he's acting so much like a teenage boy with a crush, not like, my friend has just been in a horrific accident. It's normal to bring flowers. Like, that's fine. Like, it's almost like he expects the rest of the team is going to be like, ooh, you brought him flowers. So,
I love that.
Very weird stuff.
And this is where Xavier goes, I loved her as much as you. And I'm like, dude, she was your student. That's not right.
Another sus.
And I've heard rumors about when he did profess his love to her or something. It was when she was like a teenager.
Oh, yeah. In the original run.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that did happen.
70s were a weird time.
Yeah. It is weird. And so then at the bottom of this page, we have, like, Scott's lost in his thoughts. At least he's not talking to himself this time. Like, he's actually just
too many people around.
Too many people around to talk out loud to himself. But yeah, he's sitting there and he's finally realizing, like, oh, nothing else means anything in my life if Jean's not in it. And he curiously says, like, oh, I've only realized that just now.
Just now.
So it's like, really? You've only just realized that now?
Yeah.
You've been in love with her this whole time and you've only realized that now. Okay, well, whatever. So I guess he's not a deep thinker.
No. He's a deep shouter. So.
Right. Yes, exactly. So then somebody is talking from outside the door that attracts Scott's attention on the last panel. And then we flip the page and it's the doctor giving everyone the good news that she's going to be just fine. So everybody's like rejoicing. And then Nightcrawler in his image inducer guise goes to check on Scott, but Scott's having a real emotional moment, and Nightcrawler thinks like, "Oh, it's best to just leave him alone."
70s porn star me better go out.
Yes.
Sorry, that's all I think of when I see that thing on him.
Right.
I'm curious about the Doctor. It seems like too much detail. It's like, is that meant to be someone?
It might be. I don't know.
It doesn't fit with the rest of the page.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
It's definitely. It looks like it might have been like reference from a photo, or as you say, being modeled after a specific person.
Well, that's
I don't
what
know
I think
who,
it is.
but
And
yeah,
it's
it
like,
could be.
I'm from the wrong era. I don't know who that's meant to be.
Me neither.
At the top, he looks like a blonde Colonel Sanders, but down there, he looks totally different.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it just struck me as it looked like they were trying to be someone, because that's the way they draw when they're trying to show you that this person is like the president or whatever.
Right. Or it's some person in popular culture or someone from TV or whatever. Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
But yeah, poor old Scott. Thank God she's okay. I'm not going to go to her side. I'm going to cry on this bed.
Right.
But
right. Keeps his feelings to himself.
Yeah. And I should stop picking on Cyclops.
Poor old Cyclops.
Poor old Cyclops. I'll pick on Wolverine instead.
So then this this page, so Professor X is sending the X-Men on, quote, an enforced vacation.
Enforced. I love that word.
The guy he's big on vacations.
Yes.
Loves his vacations. He's supposedly the world's greatest telepath, but his answer to any trauma is, you'll be all right. Just go on vacation for a week. You'll be fine. Just go on vacation. I did it. I went on vacation last week.
Yeah. There's any sentinels that attack me. It's all good. We escaped eventually.
Vacation.
I just love that it's enforced. It's like, how are you enforcing it? Right. Are you going with them and go, have fun, or else?
I told you to have fun, God damn it!
I can see him doing that to Scott, maybe, but
right, right. And then just as quickly, he'd be like, "What are you doing, messing around? I didn't tell you to have fun. But you said, never mind what I said."
Yeah, never mind what I said. It is that real, that real father figure son mixed up, messed up relationship.
Yep. So they decide
to get those claws out at any. Well, they can kill you. I'm just going to bring him out because you told me to go on holiday.
He's very volatile.
He is.
He's a very volatile teammate. And so then they decide they're going to go to Ireland because the timing is coincidental that Banshee has now received the letter that his lawyer sent 2 issues ago. And we've mentioned in previous episodes, like the way that Claremont will weave these subplots through multiple issues, and they kind of build to eventually, come to fruition issues later. So this is, again, he planted the seed 2 issues ago where his lawyer in Ireland sent a letter to Banshee saying, like, you've got to come to check on your family property in Ireland. Yeah, and so that's what Banshee says, well, why don't you all come with me? I've got to go to Ireland anyway, and you can make a vacation out of it. So that's what they decide they're going to do, is go off to Ireland. And so that's what the next page is.
There's the plane, the train, and the car.
Yep. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Automobiles, that's it. I knew there was something I was saying wrong. Oh, dear.
And
thinking about the road, and I just love they're in the back. Like a typical you. Just sit in the back.
Yeah. So they're driving up this rocky road to. We'll see. I mean, I think we see it on the next page.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there it is.
Banshee's family home is actually this huge castle on the Irish coast, which it is full on, because it made me think like
what?
Banshee was introduced as a villain character.
A petty thief, I think they said.
What's that?
A petty thief, I think, at one stage someone called
he was a petty thief when he was first introduced, and now you find out, but you own, like, your family is so rich that they own a freaking castle and the grounds around it. I was like, why would he come to America to be a petty thief when he's got all this?
Yes.
Anyway,
it all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it's like, don't think about it too hard. Don't think about it. Anyway, nice drawing of the castle here. And then the team is suitably impressed. Like,
yes,
they're all saying like, wow, this is amazing. Can't believe you own a castle. On the next page, we see the villain of the story.
Still not seeing his face, but we're seeing his costume.
But we do know that it's Black Tom, because I think he says
that somewhere.
He says you're falling into Black Tom's web. So he's introducing himself as, and he also says that he is Banshee's cousin. So we know a decent amount about him already, but we just haven't seen what he looks like yet.
Yeah.
Thought it was interesting that we see like a lot of villains watching the X-Men on monitors. Like, it seems to be like it's the way, the preferred way that Chris Claremont likes to introduce his villains is you see them watching the X-Men on a monitor, but you don't see who the villain is.
Well, so I checked his glove. He's not the guy who was watching.
So it's not the guy. Okay.
Who was watching Steven.
So we have to keep that design from that glove in mind to see whether it ever shows up again.
Because I'm like, who is that? I need to know who that is.
I have no idea. Me neither. Anyway, so Black Tom whacks this this guy's basically, I think he's like the caretaker of the castle while Banshee is in America. So he basically says, go greet the guests, but don't tell them I'm here. And the guy,
or I'll kill your family.
So he's being extorted.
I can just imagine. It's like, now go clean those dishes, or I'll kill your family. Go scrub that table over there, or I'll kill your family. Sorry, that's the best thing I thought when I read this.
I want another scoop of ice cream, or I'll kill your family. Don't make me do it. Okay, so
we'll go to the next. This is a bit something for the teenage boys.
I know. We actually have a shower scene with Aurora. But she's just, seems like she's just doing it in the middle of her room.
I think she is, which fascinates me.
You're going to clean up all the water?
She'll bring in a wind.
Right. I'm thinking like, I guess she could sort of summon wind to dry everything out. But yeah, so definitely one for the teenage boys. And then on the next page, here's the next explanation that we've been waiting for, which is how it provides like not only a verbal explanation, but a visual explanation of exactly what Nightcrawler's image inducer is and how it works. But that's another thing we've been waiting for like 8 issues now. which I thought this was one sequence that I always remembered from when I was a kid, was where he turned into like Clark Gable and Fred Astaire and Groucho Marx. And then the 70s porn star.
He doesn't look like it in this shot, but he did in some of the other shots.
It's weird.
He looks a little bit more suave in this, a little bit more character.
The weird thing is that he said he got it from Tony Stark, and he kind of looks like Tony Stark is drawn in the comics. So I wonder if he actually is taking on the form of Tony Stark, or whether it's just a coincidence that he just looks like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know whether they'll mention it.
I love that I used to think that Tony Stark was a 70s porn star. Instead of just a 70s alcoholic.
Right, exactly.
I just love Storm's hair. It's got that, is it Medusa?
Yeah. It's a big beehive type thing. Yeah, Bride of Frankenstein type beehive.
Yeah, that's it. Bride of Frankenstein. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, interesting.
But we're all having fun, and then boom.
Right. Yeah. So the major event on this page is they're all headed to dinner, and a trap door opens, and they quickly turn into their costumes. This was what made me think Banshee must be able to change his costume with unstable molecules as well.
But if you look really closely, what he was wearing is actually off to the right.
Oh, you're right.
He has stripped as they fell. He is stripped as they fell.
Now that is some dexterity. You've got to be good to be falling and quickly quick before I hit the ground. Get everything off.
Oh, hilarious.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's what I thought was weird in this. It's like, how's his clothes next to him? I don't know that sonic powers have the ability to blow clothes off.
Yeah. Weird.
Maybe if they were like ripped up and everything like the last time would make more sense.
Well, then that kind of makes me wonder, why can't his costume work like Storm's? And why can't he change the unstable molecules? Why does he have to strip all his stuff off?
She uses lightning powers.
Right. I guess you need powers. It's like then maybe electricity is the only way to do it.
So that seems like electricity.
And so then on the next page, which is the final page of the issue, the villains are finally revealed, and it's not only Black Tom, who we finally get a look at, but the Juggernaut, who is actually Charles Xavier's stepbrother.
Mm-hmm. He's obviously. I don't know. This can't be his first appearance, surely.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
But I reckon Juggernaut. I'm sure I've seen old X-Men with Juggernaut in them. So this might just be a surprise that he's come back.
I'm just going to Google Juggernaut first appearance. Oh, yeah. Juggernaut appeared in X-Men number 12 in July 1965. So.
Good 11 years before.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the last page.
It is the last page.
From this, I just looked at the bottom. Who shall stop the Juggernaut? Oh, I'm looking forward to that now.
So, Storm gets triggered by something that Black Tom says, where he says, "This place will be your tomb." And just the word tomb, because also throughout this issue, once they arrived at the castle, Storm started kind of reacting, at least mentally, like in her thought bubbles, we kind of saw that she was like, "Oh, I don't like all this just stone. It's just dead stone all around me like a prison." And so the the straw that breaks the camel's back is Black Tom saying, "This castle is going to be your tomb," because that's kind of subconsciously what Storm's been thinking the whole time. And that really triggers her claustrophobia. And so now we get like a real kind of demonstration at the worst possible time that she's like goes kind of catatonic and is basically having a panic attack, I guess is more accurate. And she's kind of cowering in the corner, and then the rest of her teammates are like, oh no, what's happening to Storm? So big drama to end this issue on.
Yeah.
And next issue, it's sort of teasing that there's going to be a big battle with Juggernaut, which will be fun.
I just love the good old sensitive Wolverine's like, she's flipped out. He's the man for it to say that.
That's certainly an abrasive personality. So, yeah, I said, I wrote down just on this last page that Storm's claustrophobia becomes too much for her. You would have thought that the vacation would have prevented that. Oh, well. I guess vacations aren't all they're cracked up to be. Great work, Professor X. You've done it again.
At least it's not Scott this time. He just goes after potential leaders because he ends up being the leader of the X-Men. He's the leader of the X-Men. He just loves to mess with the leaders.
Right.
You're in charge. I'm going to...
Maybe that's his thing. Yeah, maybe that's his thing. Well, that's it. We've come to the end of another issue and the end of another episode of our show.
Yes. So that brings us to the question. What is today's band name?
Today's band name is from page 11, panel 2 of this issue. It's where they're on their way to the castle, driving along the bumpy road.
Oh, yeah.
Wolverine says, hey, what's with the bumps? And so this issue's band name is The Bumps.
The Bumps. Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's a band name. Well, that's it for this week. We've got the band name, so we're ready to rock and roll. Well, to unrock and roll, whatever. If you have anything you want to add that we've talked about, whether you disagree or agree with our opinions, put it in the box underneath. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and so you see more of these.
Yep.
Wonderful, uncanny shows. And until then, I'm Sis. You can find me online at comics.net.au. That's without an I, COMX. And where can people find your stuff, Matt?
All my stuff can be found at steamrollerman.com. Thank you.
I should bring up is the next issue is 102. I had to look that up. Anyway, good night all, or goodbye, or good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. And we will see you next week.
See you next week, Matt. Everybody. Thanks, Sis. See you next time.
See you all.